Hi friends, welcome back to our channel Total QA. Today we're going to discuss about a new topic, that is how do we handle the errors that are coming across during execution of the Maven project. But before getting into that, the most important plugins which are required to execute the project, especially in Selenium, we execute the test cases which are written in test-ng. If you would like to execute those test cases, what are all the plugins required? What are all the prerequisites? We will get into the topic now. So the first plugin which we require in the case of Maven is to execute the test cases is Maven Surefire Plugin, which will help you to execute the test cases. Similarly, there is one more plugin which will be helpful for executing, not only executing, it is helpful for compiling the code, that is Maven Compiler Plugin. This is for compiling the source code. So these two plugins are required for us to compile the code, one is, and second one is to execute the test cases. But before we go ahead and configure these two plugins in our Maven project, first prerequisite is make sure we set Java home as a variable in our system. So how do we cross check this is already set? You open a command line and just start echo % Java_home. To do this, you will get the output. It is pointing to the JDK home, not the bin directory. It's always important whenever we are trying to set the Java home, it should be always before the bin directory. We should not include the bin directory. It's very important. So once we have this prerequisite available, then we have to proceed further to discuss on how do we set these plugins in the Maven project. Okay, so let's open Eclipse now. In Eclipse, I have created a project here. This is the project which I have created, and in this project I created one, I think by default it comes a pom.xml file. So in this pom.xml file we are going to include two plugins now. Okay, for including these two plugins, what we have to do is we just need to go to the Maven website, this Maven Apache Maven project. Then let's start getting into each and every plugin. If you want to see what are all the plugins available, just click on Maven here, and you will find a lot of plugins in the left side. There is a link. Click on the plugins link here. Here you will find a lot of plugins. Depends upon the requirement, we have to use a specific plugin. Now, if you see, right now we decided to use a compiler plugin. So this is the one, Compiler Plugin, which is useful to compile the Java sources. And you also need the repository code. Yes, it is available for the compiler. Also, we can get the code. You can just go to the repository, but we are interested in Maven Compiler Plugin. Let me click on it. That's the first one we are trying to add here. When you try to see Apache Maven Compiler Plugin, when you scroll down a little bit, you will find one information. At present, the default source is setting it to 1.6. If you don't mention the code, the version which it has to be used to compile the code, it will take by default as 1.6. That's the reason it's very important we have to set the Java home. And if you try to see usage and some examples, we will follow these examples to compile the code. Set the Java home and access this website. Come to examples. Take any example. Let's take the first example, compiling using a different JDK. Let me click on it. When you click on compiling using a different JDK, they already given some information to us. They're saying that here under build section, the project build section, you have multiple plugins and you have to add a specific plugin that is called Maven Compiler Plugin. So let me copy this code now. Build plugins, plugin information. Let me copy this. For Maven Compiler Plugin, I'm just keeping this information here. And remove some unnecessary lines, line number 15 and line number 29. And whenever we add some information in the pom.xml file, the most important thing we do is right click on the Maven project, select Maven, force update. This is very important. If I am trying to modify the pom.xml file, I just need to right click on the Maven project, just try to select force update of snapshots and releases. That's it. This will resolve the errors which are coming in by adding the pom.xml file. Some configuration changes we are doing it here. Now let's go in detail about it. The group ID for the plugin, the artifact ID of the plugin, the version of the plugin, configuration, all this information is available. But here we have to give executable path, the Java C path. Okay, so what does it mean by Java C path? Let's see the information in the website. So they're giving the information as you have to give bin/javac. So now when I go to Java home, I know the path. This is my path. Let me copy this path first. Mark it. First mark it. Then you just need to copy this section. Then go to the Eclipse. Try to put this information /bin/javac. That's it. This will help us to compile the code. This will help us to compile the code. Suppose, for example, I'm adding one program, new class loan. I'll just create a one main method here. Okay. I created a main method. So will this program will be executed? Let's see. Just try to put here some information as hello world. Then once you write this information, you save this program. The advantage of Maven project is even if we add any file in the project, which is a Java file, it will compile. You don't need to specifically mention, please compile this file. So just go to the pom.xml file here, right click, run as, just say Maven install. That's it. It will try to compile all the files now. Then it will create an artifact. Let's see what will happen now. You see here compiling two files. We are able to compile the code. Yes, we are able to compile the code. If you see here, there is a line statement here, nothing to compile here, but it compile two files. We see the two files here, then it is able to compile. See here, compiling two source files, right? Compiling two source files. If you want, you can just go to the location, or else you can just select the project, right click, refresh the target folder, right? You see here, Maven Compiler Plugin, compile, default compile. Just see here, go to the location, find the location here, target test classes. Let's refresh this now. 1 second, refresh it. You'll find test classes. Okay, maybe it is not generated. Let's try to do one thing. Properties, go to the project now. Target. Do you see the test classes? Org, total QA, Selenium test. Do you see the hello world class is getting compiled? So what does it mean? The compilation is working fine. The compilation is working fine because we added the Maven Compiler Plugin. We provided the JDK path. Now, next question is, suppose for example, if I share this pom.xml file, to anyone, will this pom.xml has some hard-coded values, right? You might be using JDK 1.8, 1.9. This path, you have to change it. So instead of changing this path, we have to use one more way of provided by Maven. We just need to provide $java_home/bin/javac, right? That means if you try to set Java home already in your laptop, you just need to mention $java_home. This is very important. That's it. If you do this, this will help you to resolve majority of the errors in Maven compilation. Prerequisites you have to set, add the Maven compiler, and just try to provide the path, the executable path. This is one way. Right. Suppose for example, we have tried this. We wanted to try one more way of. We'll remove this now. We'll keep it in Notepad. There is another way of suggestions provided by Maven. not only this way, there is another way as well. Let's look into that another way as well. You see here, there is another way that is provided by Maven, compile using source and target JavaC options. Let's click on this now. So when I click on this, they are giving suggestions such a way that you just need to add the properties here first. Let's go here, add the properties, not in the build section, outside the build section. And also you need to provide the information as plugins. Under plugins, you just need to mention what is your source, what is your target. Those two things you have to mention. Suppose, for example, in my case, my source and target is 1.11. You have to mention exactly 1.11 because if you see here, I'm just giving 1.11 here, 11.0.12. You're giving the same here. Just save it. I told you guys clearly, whenever you see an error here, the section, you just need to. Let me show you here exactly. If you see an error here in this section, it is very important. You have to update the Maven project immediately. That will fix the error automatically. Right click on the project. So then you try to select Maven here, update project, force update, click on OK. That's it, we are done. And also what we have done right now, we are following the second point, which is provided by Maven, setting the source and target of the Java compiler. We're setting 1.11 because 1.11 is the one. Which version we are using here? 1.11. See, right? 1.11. And also here also you have to mention 1.11. That's it. You just do it like this. Save it. Then right click on the pom.xml file, run as Maven test. Let's see what will happen now. Right, the build is success. So let's do one more thing here. Right now, if you see nothing to compile, all classes are up to the rate. Let's do one thing. Let's modify one file. We modify one file. Hello world. Good morning, everyone. Okay, let's add this statement as well. Now let's try to compile the code. Right click on the pom.xml file, run as Maven clean. Anything is fine. You just run the clean also, it will compile the code. Because when you say clean, it will delete the target folder. Just delete the target folder. Okay, so delete in the target folder. Okay, let's try to compile that. I think it's just deleting the target folder. Let's try to say run as Maven install so that it will compile the code as well. It's compiling two source files. Yes, it's compiled successfully. Right, so that is what I'm saying here. You can try to add any one of the options provided by Maven Compiler Plugin. It will fix all the issues. Only mistake what we are doing, all of us, is not setting up the Java home path. Set the Java home path in the environmental variables are mostly done with all this, done with fixing these errors already. Okay, now but next plugin in our list is, let's move on to the next plugin. The next plugin in our list is Maven Surefire Plugin. Let's focus on the Maven Surefire Plugin. So again, same point. Let's go to plugins here. If you go to the plugins section, available plugins, you will find one more plugin which we are talking right now is Surefire Plugin. Right, just let's click on the Surefire Plugin now. And this is a Surefire Plugin. Here, if you just scroll down, you will see different kinds of versions here. 3.0.0, M1, M2, M3, M4, M5, M6, so many versions are there, but how do we use it? Uses and the examples are very important. Let's try to focus on test.ng because I have test.ng test cases available in my project. Now, I see there is a dependency. Yes, it's okay. We add dependency 6.9.8. It's okay now. Let's scroll down. Now our focus is the plugin information. This plugin information, we copy this now. Just put this plugin information here. When you put this plugin information, the configuration here, it is looking for test.ng.xml file. So it's very important. We have to create a test.ng.xml file in the project, which is useful to execute the test.ng test cases. Okay, so let's do one thing. Select any program. This program contains test.ng test cases. We can even check here. These are all test.ng test cases. Let's try to do one thing. Create a test.ng.xml file. Right click on the file name. Select test.ng. Convert to test.ng here. Click on finish, which generates test.ng.xml file in the project. You will find the test.ng.xml file. Click on finish. That's it. It creates a test.ng.xml file here. And also, that's it. One more thing we have to do is we modified the pom.xml file. We always need to run Maven update so that if there are any errors also, it will try to resolve. Let's try to do that one more time before we start doing any other activity. I prefer just try to select update project, select force update of snapshots. That's it. We are done. So the pom.xml contains two plugins, two plugins. One plugin is the Maven Compiler Plugin. One plugin is Maven Surefire Plugin, which is useful for executing the test cases. So what I should do right now, right click on the pom.xml file, run as Maven test. That's it, which will help us to execute the test cases, and we will see the output in the console now. So what's happening now? It is trying to compile, but what is happening? So fail to execute compile on project, fatal error compiling invalid target release. Okay, so might be it is not taking the exact release version. Let's do one thing, take 11.0.12. Okay, let's take like this, and same thing here you have to provide as 11.0.12. Same thing we'll provide here also. Okay, let's see now. Save it now. Let's try to, whenever we modify the pom.xml file, that's regular activity we have to do every time, because otherwise this will not work. That's it. We're done. Right click on the pom.xml file, run as now Maven test. So again we are getting error. This is giving an error. Failed test fail multiple points. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's try to do one more thing. That is, let's try to revert it to 1 point. Let's do one thing. In that case, if it is not able to recognize 1.11.0.12, because generally it should be identifying this 11.0.12, but let's do one thing. Let's put 11.0. Might be it is .12, it's not required. Let's try to see here how this will take into consideration. Let's try to run this. Right click, run as Maven test. This time if it doesn't work, we'll go back to the option 1. So there are two options, right? We'll go for the option 1 also, not an issue here. Nothing will happen. So invalid target tells it's not able to target, find it, right? Let's try to, we have to see why it is not able to find 1.11.0. Might be the compiler is the older version. Let's try to see the compiler version once. Let's look into the plugins now. Let's look into the plugins. Then we'll find Maven plugins here. Just look into the compiler plugins. Then here use source and target. Let's see. Here using 1.8, right? Compiling using different JDK example. I usually to compile or code the specific JDK version different from launch. Okay, that is the one we are giving, but it should work. But it is not identifying 11.0.12. Let's try to modify as 11.0.12. We even tried that, but still this is not able to recognize this version. To see why, or else we'll go back to the option 1. Okay, that's also fine. Let's try for the last time, otherwise we'll go back to the option. Right click, run as Maven test. Okay, here. Okay, so suppose for example, if this error is still resolving, I'll fix it and release another video for this point. As of now, we'll focus on the first point. We have two options. Let's focus on the first option. Let's go back to the first option. The first option is compiling using a different JDK. Right? But let's do one thing. Actually, if you're facing this issue with the 1.8, let's try to do one thing. Let's try to do 1.8. Suppose, for example, if I have 1.8 in my laptop, this will work as well, because in my laptop 1.8 is also there, but it is not able to recognize this, right? It requires a Java home should be set. Let's do one thing. Let's remove this right now. Let's focus on the plugin. The plugin is mainly, I'm just removing this. As I said, I'll just go back to the first option. What is the first option? The first option is available in the notepad. We already copy pasted this. Just put this information here and try to see whether this will work or not. Now, let's try to right click on this. First, fix the errors. Right click on the project. Maven update, force update of snapshots. Then let's do one thing. Right click on the pom.xml file. Run as Maven test. At least this will work because this is the option 1. Option 1 is a perfect way of executing the project. But option 2, suppose if you are pointing to source and target versions, if you want to maintain it, you can maintain there. The preference is option 1 always, because we're setting the Java home path. So Java home is already set in our laptop. Definitely it will work. It's trying to download all the dependencies of Selenium dependencies, and also TestNG dependencies, and also Maven dependencies. Then it will start executing the project. It is executing the test cases, executing the TestNG test cases. Now it is opening the browser and it is trying to execute the test cases. So that is the advantage of using the plugins. The plugins are having a capability of compiling the code and executing the test cases of TestNG as well. So this pom.xml is very important. To try to use it for your information. And this information, I'll even post it in our GitHub as well. I'll put the GitHub link in the description of the video. I hope this video is helpful for you to understand the plugins. Thanks for watching my video. Thank you.